My favorite way to play this game is sniping. And I'm asked all the time what my favorite snipers are. I thought we would put together a nice little tier maker list that I will include a link in the description. If you want to create your own tier list, post it onto our Facebook group. We'll even create a pinned page for this. Give it a like if you want to see even more of these like this as well. Make sure you're followed, subscribed to all the good stuff. Because, you know, we talk about this stuff sometimes, but I'm going to put my list out there. I may make some changes as I drag this on because this is, as a matter of fact, the first time I've ever done a tier list like this. So keep that in mind as we go through. I'm going to try my best, but I may make some tweaks, and I'm going to try and give you some of my reasoning as I explain some of these weapons. And if you guys like it enough, we'll go through some of the best sniper support weapons. We'll go through some of the favorite SMGs, ARs, shotgun, even if we want to get that stupid, but, you know, but we'll see where it goes. So with that, we've got every sniper in the game here that is at least reasonable. Typically, when I talk about snipers as well, I'm talking about weapons that will get you one-shot headshot kills. So yes, the Kar98 is technically a marksman rifle, or the SPR is a marksman. They're sniper rifles in my world, okay? I don't know about all the... Just, they one-shot headshot. They're bolt action in most cases. Of course, we got like the Riot Tech and a couple of ones here. But let's see what we got. First up, the 3-line sniper. This one was significantly better earlier on in the game. Of course, as I'm recording this, we are in towards the end of Season 1 of Call of Duty Call of Duty Vanguard's release. My initial placement for this, I'm going to put it at the B tier. And I will sort these within the tier as well by the order that I like the gun. Here's the thing with the 3-line. It's got a 20-round magazine. That increases the damage. It's got good bullet velocity. It reloads even still relatively quick, even though you don't need to reload with it. The optic sway on it is what is the biggest detriment to all of the Vanguard snipers, pretty much, although we'll get to the Kar98 Vanguard in a bit. It's still just, like, this does the most damage. It's got the most balanced ADS that I've found in all of my testing. And, you know, the biggest thing that's got going for it is that 20 round and the damage that it does do. And the bullet velocity is pretty good as well. So, you know, it feels pretty good. The AX50, man, going back to some classic Modern Warfare. I mean, this gun is something that has... This gun has the best actual optic, I think, in the game. It's so clear and big and juicy. You still got your FOV on the sides, man. It's so nice. But it starts having bullet drop, even with all of the best bullet velocity things on it, at like 90 meters. I don't think it's the worst gun in the entire game, though, and that's what I'm concerned about. But I think, I think I have to put it in the D tier. Now, keep in mind, this is also, I'm talking about specifically for Warzone, specifically for Verdansk or Caldera. Now, obviously, the bigger map, Caldera. This changes a little bit, and I'll give some caveats as we go through when we talk about some of the other, you know, if you talk about playing like Rebirth Island, right? Because I think there is an argument for the AX50 to be a little bit better with the faster ADS, and you don't shoot it at as far of ranges than, you know, the Dragunov. Now, this one's going to surprise you. If you are a complete bot at the game and actually using it, this is going to go down at the very bottom of the list. Complete garbage. ADS is slow. Yes, I've gotten a dub with the gun. I even got a dub with the Scar and the Dragunov. Okay, so I've used it to my... Even though I wanted to throw up, you know, it's there. It's in the game. Okay, don't use it. It's a complete meme. I would put it in... It's still worse than the AX50, but no thank you. Anti-tank rifle is in a similar lines to the Dragunov, right? This is a gun that single fire, you don't actually need to rechamber it, but unlike the Dragunov, this can get a one-shot headshot. This one actually has a little bit of potential with it. Not much, because here's the other thing. At least the last time I tested this gun, it actually had terrible visual recoil as well, where when you would do it, the optic would glitch, like, up and down. If they resolved that, then I do think it has some potential as a weapon. Just because, especially, it does have a faster aim down sight time. I almost want to put this in a C tier, guys. I almost want to put this in a C tier. But it's so, like, I feel like if I did that, then I would be giving people hope. I feel like I would be giving you hope. when there is no hope. But I don't think it's bad as the AX50. So here we are in the D tier again. Man, I feel like I'm getting a little too harsh on some of these. I feel like, you know, just looking at the chart right now, maybe I've gone a little too harsh. I might have gone a little too harsh off of this. But I don't want to give you guys false hope. I don't want you to go out and think, yes, you can get kills with these guns, okay? I'm not saying you can't get kills. You can't have a decent game. I've gotten wins with these guns. But I'm giving you a realistic perspective here, okay? Which brings us to the HDR. This one has got a lot. This one's going to have probably even more controversy than the AX50. Although I think me putting the AX50 in D tier is probably going to trigger a lot of people. It's gonna trigger a lot of people. I get that, but I'm trying to put this comparison together as best as I can, and we may make some changes. We'll see. Okay, it might come up. We'll see. We'll see. HDR has some of the best bullet velocity in the game. Not the best though. It is pretty good, and similar to the AX50, having a great optic. The HDR does have a good optic as well. That with the variable optic, you can get even super zoomed in and get some crazy ass shots with. However, to use the variable optic, you sacrifice some of your aim down sight speed. I always prioritize aim down sight speed, especially over stability, which this gun actually is very stable. You can still strafe, you can still do a lot of good stuff with on it. The question is, would I use the HDR over the 3-line sniper? And the answer to that, my friends, is a resounding yes. I'm going to put this in the B tier. It may have a spot in the A tier. The HDR may be up to A tier quality, but I would use it over the 3-line for sure. I would use it over that. It has different characteristics that make it good. One of those being as well, you have such a fast reload speed. This might be an A tier. We'll see where the rest of this list goes, okay? But I do like the HDR quite a bit. And so I'm putting it right in the middle here. Next up, we have the M82. I don't know if I've used a worse gun in the game. That's what I'm trying to debate right now. Good Lord, is the M82 terrible. However, okay, the M82 can still get a one-shot headshot. So it still is above the Dragunov in my book. The problem with it is how slow the aim down sight speed is. That being said, I still like it more than the anti-tank rifle because you can spam those shots really quickly. And the last time I used it, it felt like the recoil would recenter really quickly as well, to where you could get a couple good shots downrange as well. It's just that I'm just trying to decide, is that ADS time? The ADS time is so bad, dude. It's so bad. I'm going to lock it there. I think I like it better than the anti-tank rifle. Cannot be better than the AX50, though. It just, like, this is actually making me think that the AX50 should be in C tier right now. You know what? I'm promoting the AX50. I don't think the AX50 deserves to be in the category with these guns. It might. AX50, you better watch yourself. I might be bringing your ass back down, but I think it just got a promotion just for how, you know, it's like when, it's like when you see something in comparison to other things, it just like, the AX50 just is not at the caliber of what these other snipers are. Like, these things are so bad. It's making the AX50 look better how bad these ones are. You know what I'm saying? Without me saying exactly what I'm saying for the example of what I'm saying here. You know what I'm saying. Okay, here we go. Next up. Oh, this is one of the fan favorites out there. Oh, baby. Oh, the Modern Warfare Kar98k, ladies and gentlemen. The Modern Warfare one. This is the old school one, right? This has been my number one for... It tied in the number one category closely for a very long time, although I've never actually put this chart together before. This is my first time ever doing one of these charts for anything, actually, so we're learning a little bit here. But it has some drawbacks. This is one of the reasons that it could not be S tier for me back in when the Cold War weapons were dropped. When the Cold War weapons came out and the K-Swiss became into play, it became so God tier because it had the faster reload. The biggest thing that brings this gun down, there's two big things. One of those is the reload time, It is nice that you can do the individual bullet reload and still get a round down, right? That's still helpful. However, the longer reload to get the full 5 back brings this down, and the range hit markers that you get with this hold it back from what it could potentially be. That being said, I know you guys are already about to yell at me. It's okay. Listen, this gun makes up for those drawbacks in the close range flinch resistance that it has. However, they recently nerfed that down 60%, which they then buffed it another 13% or whatever it was back a little bit. And if you tweak your loadout to put the focus perk on, it still feels pretty much just as good as it always did. I know, because my ass got killed to it recently in a 1v1 situation where I lost the game because of it, where I hit the shots first, and this guy... coughed a little bit. This other gentleman ended up hitting me with it, headshot through my shots when I was more accurate than he was. Okay? It does make up for it in that category, as well as the insane aim down sight speed, the insane stability, the insane sprint to fire speed, and everything that does come with it. That is a lot of makeup that it has. It makes up a lot of range there. I may put this in the S tier. However, right now, because of the drawbacks that it has and the other potential that some of the other snipers have, I'm going to put it into the A tier. This is an incredible sniper to use that surpasses definitely all of the ones below it. Outside of, okay, yeah, HDR 3-line might be a little bit better for very long-range sniping. In particular, I'll put the HDR above that, okay? But the HDR does not have the close-range capacity. As soon as you take one bullet with the HDR, your gun goes up to the moon. This brings us to the Pelington. The Pelington is a very interesting one. This is also the gun that has the single bullet reload. It reloads one bullet at a time, just like the Kar98k. However, this makes up for some categories that the Kar98k has. This thing has even faster bullet velocity. It can reach a little bit of those longer ranges, but it doesn't have the same flinch resistance. It also seems to get just as much hit markers. It doesn't seem to maintain the damage very well. And it really doesn't have anything that stands out to me in terms of, you know what? I want to use the Pelington for this reason. These other snipers, I've got a reason to select those snipers. The Pelington is like, okay, I'm going to use something slightly worse than some of these other snipers. Now, it's not as bad as the AX50. The bullet velocity is cracking, and you can hit some nasty headshots with it. In fact, I kind of want to put it above the 3-line, but because it has such a slow reload, and the 3-line's got all the bullets in the world, but it is a lot more stable. There's a lot less sway with the Pelington than the 3-line as well. It's just, why would I use it? Outside of it just being a fun challenge. We still have the Tundra coming up. And the Tundra is the closest comparison that I have to the Pelington, really. But the Pelington's even worse than the Tundra. I think I have to put this at a C tier. However, the Pelington does have the faster bullet velocity than the AX50, which in practice does surpass it for me. I think I have to keep this at a C tier. It's locking in. My hands are sweating right now. The next one on board is the Rytec. Absolutely this piece of shit. Okay, there. Next up, we have the SPR. Oh, baby. Even touching this one. It's got it just puts a smile on my face right here. This is little SPR, baby. Okay. Now, here's the thing with the SPR. It's not perfect. It's not perfect, okay? It's got a lot going for it. Ever since it first came out, this has become an all-time A tier, easy A tier, all day, every day. Don't even worry about that, right? The drawback that the SPR has is the flinch with it. Similar to the HDR, the 3-line, Pelington, every other sniper in the game outside of the Kar98, which is why the Kar98 is up where it is. That one's got the flinch resistance the SPR never had. However, the SPR has a faster bullet velocity than the HDR. It doesn't have as brilliant of an optic to zoom in with, although you could put the variable on it and look a little bit farther. I don't necessarily recommend it. You could do that. It's definitely better than the HDR because it's got faster bullet velocity, faster time between shots, faster aim down sight speed, like the mobility, everything. This gun is amazing. And all of those things make up for the fact that it doesn't have the flinch resistance. Now I already know you can put the focus perk on and it makes it so that the flinch resistance is actually insane. However, I don't think it's worth doing that. You lose too much aim down sight speed by taking off the tack laser. You could take off the suppressor. That would probably be the best thing, but then you lose the suppression and staying off the map that this has the versatility for. This, my friends, though, with all the drawbacks, is still, in my eyes, in the S tier. You need to use it appropriately, but it becomes the absolute dominating factor from 100 to 250, even out to 350 meters, sometimes even farther range, although the optic does not have a lot of zoom to support those very long range fights. But here's the thing, you getting a kill from 450 meters away does not matter. Stop looking 500 meters away from your fight and help your damn team close range where the shots actually count. Where they count. That is where this sniper shines. Comboed with the right weapon where you can control the 20 to 100 meters range. Closer than that, you become amazing. Or you use it appropriately, use it as your opener and swap over. This, to me, is the pinnacle of sniping in this game currently with all the other changes that they have made to the game. Maybe not for Rebirth Island, but that's where I would put it right now. With all the changes for Caldera for this right now. Which brings me to my next gun. That was my baby for a solid year in the game, man. I mean, the Swiss. The Swiss was the moneymaker. This gun, when it came out, it changed everything. Actually, when it came out, it was kind of trash. But then they improved it, and they improved it, and they improved it, and they buffed it and buffed it. And it went from down here to buff. Top S tier primo A quality. It was just, I mean, there's just nothing better than this. And I will say, even in the day previously, I would have had the Kar98 and the SPR tied. Maybe the SPR would have been A tier prior to the changes that had recently happened. The Swiss was sitting at a pinnacle all by itself up here. However, the bullet velocity is still slower than the SPR. It is about 140 meters out before you start having to put drop on the K-Swiss with my build, which is maximum bullet velocity. Whereas the SPR is out about 210 meters before you start needing to put a drop. Significantly faster. It's got a much faster reload than the Kar98k. And the damage when it hits sustains more than the Kar98k. This is a very, 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 very close call here, guys, between these two weapons. Because they serve different purposes. And it's comparing apples and oranges in certain ways. But I am going to lock the Swiss at an A tier. Slightly ahead of the Kar98k. I gotta put it here. It has an edge. In my book, it has an edge. The next gun we need to bring to everybody's attention is the Tundra. This gun was a dumpster fire for quite a while, as most of the Cold War snipers and many of the Vanguard snipers are right now. The Tundra, however, got a lot of love. It went from bottom tier up, and the bullet velocity on this is actually rivaled with some of the best snipers in the entire game. I feel like the Tundra is even above the HDR tier-wise. I almost want to put this on the A tier. However, it does not have the same use and practicality, I think, as the other snipers. Still has more hit markers, and this also could be one. This could be one that I don't quite have enough experience with. It's almost making me think, though, because I don't have that experience with it, and I do love the HDR as much as I do, I think I might put the HDR above it. It has the aim down sight speed, it's stable. All of the buffs and all the recent times that I used this thing, I really did enjoy it. I give the HDR extra credit, though, because it's got the sickest scope or the sickest blueprint in the game, though. And it's the coolest looking sniper. And maybe I shouldn't be doing that either, but it's part of the process. It's part of the gun. So I'm locking it behind the HDR. We have 3 snipers left. The Type 99 is up next. The Type 99 is one of the new Vanguard snipers, so I know you want me to put it in the very bottom. If you've ever used these new Vanguard snipers, they are pretty bad. They have made a couple adjustments to it to where it was actually up here. It was doing really good. But then they fixed it because it was actually technically broken, giving you shots that it shouldn't. They made the 3-line have a faster aim down sight speed. They didn't give that same buff to the Type 99, although it is the biggest damaging hitter of the Vanguard snipers. However, just because you do a lot of damage doesn't mean that you're good. There's a lot of other factors to consider. The sway that is with this gun, the 5-round mag versus a 20-round mag of the 3-line, that does pretty much the same amount of damage and seems to have a similar bullet velocity. I just don't see this gun being competitive. Do I want to put it in front of the AX50 here? Not really. The X50 has so much going for it. Besides, I mean, the bullet velocity is massive. It's a massive factor. The bullet velocity is a massive, massive factor, and the Type 99 does win on that. You can hit some nasty headshots with it and get kills that you probably couldn't with the AX50, especially from range. This is a hard one. But it's all trash anyway, so I'm just going to leave it C. All right, I'll leave it at C tier. I'll leave it at C tier. To now the Vanguard Kar98, which might be a surprise to you guys. Listen, the Vanguard Kar98k has a build that is interesting. Not only is it interesting, but it has some of the fastest aim down sight speed in the game. With a 3.5 times optic on it. It also has no glint, essentially having shrouded without even having to put the shrouded perk on. However, the gun shoots paintballs. It doesn't kill anything. Unless you hit a headshot, then it one-shot guarantees. It's got incredible bullet velocity. The aim down sight speed is actually insane on this thing. Actually faster than the Kar98k. It has a problem, though. The sprint to fire speed, in order to utilize any good aim down sight speed with it, requires you to do a slide cancel into your sprint to fire. Essentially making it a standard aim down sight rather than an actual sprint to fire. It's extremely slow. It does have that good close range use of a sniper, though. The fast aim down sight, and if you can hit those headshots, this thing can get you some of the craziest clips in the game. But I think that's an unrealistic way to use the sniper in many degrees. And so with that, I cannot put it where the Modern Warfare Kar98k is. That gun has too many synergistic uses at the close range. All right, it's locking here. It's locking here. It's a good gun, man, and it serves many uses. But the final straw for me is that I am playing long-range maps here. I am playing Caldera. This is going to be something that might have a higher placement if you're playing Rebirth. I do see an argument for that. No. I like this. I like this. Which brings us to our final. The ZRG 20mm. My friends, one we just recently did a good video on. The ZRG. The bullet velocity that is absolutely ludicrous. Bumps it up. The crystal clear, zoomed in optic with the cross thread, extra little ticks on it too to look beautifully down your sight. The extremely fast, timed between shots where you can lay bullets down range. The relatively fast reload as long as you're not hitting it with the full emptied mag. It becomes an amazing sniper. The problem with it, of course, is that when you get hit with this, your optic goes up to the moon. On top of that, while the optic does zoom you in very well, you don't get the same benefits that you do from these other three snipers, where you can still see in your peripheral vision to help acquire targets and make sure you're not getting hit from the side, especially with affected FOV on PC. I've got this thing above the HDR, no question. And don't even get me started. I already know a lot of you guys are going to start calling me insane for this one. Okay? A lot of you guys are going to tell me this is one of the ugliest snipers in the entire game, which I do not understand still. I think this gun looks amazing. I love this gun. And I'm going to stand by that. So many people tell me this is one of the ugliest looking guns in the entire game. Nope. This gun is beautiful. Okay? There's no question in my mind that I like this better than all of the other snipers below it in this potential placement right here. But it's not enough to pull it into the A tier because that is an extremely situational position. You need to talk about the well-roundedness of guns. So I'm locking it in there. Now, is there any changes we want to make now that we've seen the entire tier list here, guys? There could be some movement in the mid-tier here. I think a lot of the mid-tier is... There's going to be a certain level. This goes back to what I was saying earlier, guys. Listen, this goes back to what I was saying earlier. The middle can be very flexible because all of these guns will hit a one-shot headshot. It's a beautiful thing. And that's where it's going to come down to how much time. If you have spent 100 hours with the AX50 and you've never used the Pelington, then it will be a B tier for you. Or you've never used the Switch or any of these other guns, it will be a much higher tier than all those other guns. But once you put the same amount of time, if you put the same amount of time into the AX50 and you put the same amount of time into the one of these other guns, I would argue that's why I think that's where it deserves to be. Truck, Come on, baby! Oh, shit.